So today I have an Ibanez Gio that the wiring was all fucked up on it. So I'm going to show you my process of rewiring a 2-volume, 2-tone, 2-humbucker guitar. This is the guitar. This is how the wiring looked before. This is one of the pots that was in the guitar before I wired it up. As you can see, this pot has a tab. Now that tab is really meant for guitars that have a pick guard. And the shaft of this pot is too short to actually go through the body. So I replaced it with a used pot that does go through the body. Now I'm desoldering all the wires and all the capacitors from the pot. If you're doing this for the first time, just remember, it takes solder to remove solder. So you want to make sure that your iron is well tinned and you're ready to desolder. You can also use a solder sucker to get rid of some of the old solder. Now I'm going to resolder the capacitors to both of the tone pots. Now, the difference between a volume pot and a tone pot is that the tone pot has a capacitor. That's what makes it a tone pot. I don't have a whole lot of tools to do all this. I really just like to use some tweezers and my helping hands. You can get these helping hands from Harbor Freight. You don't need to get anything crazy expensive on StuMac like that. These things work just fine. That noise in the background is a humidifier running. My shop is based out of Philly, and we're getting into the winter months, which means everything's drying out. So that thing is going to be running on full blast for a couple months, at least until the winter's over. So don't mind the sound of the humidifier. So another tip for when you're soldering is if you can pull the wire off of a fresh solder joint, then the joint's not good enough. So I always tug on the wire a little bit after I'm done soldering to make sure the joint is good and solid. Okay, that was a shit connection. Now, the next thing to do is to properly shield the guitar, because the shielding in there kind of sucks. I have this 5-gallon bucket of shielding. It's for another project, but this is how it looked before, and this is me painting the shielding on. It generally takes about 2 coats. Shielding is very important, especially if you live in a very noisy environment like a city. Now, I always like to add a piece of copper shielding tape after I paint it. I don't really think it's necessary, but I usually do it anyway. Now, the pickup leads are a little too short, so I'm now extending them by taking another piece of wire, soldering them together, and then using a heat shrink over top of that fresh solder joint. Now, I would not recommend using a torch. I would recommend using some kind of Bic lighter. The problem that I have is that Bic lighters usually grow legs and walk away. So, nobody's taking my cigar lighter. When you get to the volume pot, one of the outer lugs should always be wired to ground, which is the back of the pot. Now I'm wiring the pickup pot to the outer lug that I haven't sent to ground. I also ran a wire from the outer lug of the tone pot, one of the outer lugs on the tone pot, to that same outer lug on the volume. And the middle lug on the volume is being sent to the switch. When you're looking at an output jack, there's two types. There's mono and stereo. Now the mono has a hot and a ground. This is the hot. This lug right here is the hot. And the other lug is the ground. Hot goes to the that bent piece of metal right there. And ground goes to the whole thing. I'm going to be sending the hot of the output jack to the middle of the switch. Now with the switch, there's, on imports, the middle one has two tabs that stick out. You really want to bend them together and then solder them together with a wire. This will connect both halves of the switch in the middle position. Then I'm going to send the ground from the output jack to the ground on the switch. And this is the end result with everything wired up. It's not the prettiest wiring job, but it works. Alright, everything's functional. Neck, the bridge. Be nice if it was plugged in. Bridge. And there it is. All I need is to find some knobs, and it's good to go.